The Marcia Weekes Show. It's the Marcia Weekes Show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's the Marcia Weekes Show. It's the Marcia Weekes Show. From Barbados to Africa, voices unite. Educate minds, elevate sight. It's the Marcia Weekes Show. Talk truth, build roots, stories unfold. Motivate change, mobilize is the mode, that's the MR code. Hey! We growing, we know it.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, boys and girls. This is Marcia Weekes, and you are watching the Marcia Weekes Show. We are coming to you live from from Barbados. And I'm holding in my hand the national flag of Barbados, and you heard the national anthem of Barbados. How is everybody doing this evening? We are so excited. We're really, really excited to be with you on the Marcia Weekes Show today. We're going to be showing you a little bit of athletics, so, guys. We're going to show you some athletics from BSSAC. Yes, BSSAC. I think it's the preliminaries leading up to that. We also have some from the primary school level, from NAPSAC as well, and the Junior National Championships. We're going to show you a little bit of that, and some of you who you used to run, and some of you who can't run anymore, you fall down. We're going to just watch the children and the young people as they use all of that energy. So we're going to feature them a little bit. And, guys, we are going to also be looking at the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, okay? And we're looking at the estimates. These are all the numbers. What we've also done, and we've been looking at some of the policies. So we listen to what they have, what they're speaking about, what the different ministers are speaking about in Parliament. And we also we look at that and juxtapose it to what is happening in the estimates. All right. So we do our tourism estimate breakdown. Then we're going to look. We look at how that. Look at the airport's train and the airspace shutdown in light of the estimates. We're going to connect it all tonight. Okay. We're going to look at BIMPI. BIMPI is something that we have to watch, guys. And we're going to look at that tonight. This is a payment system that is being sent, the payment system being centralized by the government, coming from the central bank. All right. So it's a centralized system from the central bank. You're good. This is the way they're saying for you to pay your bills, both in government and private. This is it, y'all. This is it. So we have to take a look at that. We're also going to look at the fire service. What is happening there with this promotion dispute? Cuban doctors and payment transparency in the Caribbean. We're going to touch on that. Yeah. And I want to give you just a quick overview of the mobile oil cleanup that they're proposing, right? And the hotel development that they plan to put there. So all of this, it all ties in, okay? It all ties in tonight. So please, everybody, make sure you like and share. Yes, make sure you like and share. And let me just greet everybody before we go right into the athletics. Let me greet everybody. Ronald Archer, how are you? Teroni, Judy Jilks, how are you doing? Cedric Strong, how is Cedric? Angela Burke, it's so good that you have joined, Angela. Carol is good. Jefferson Sobers, thank you for joining. We don't take you for granted at all. Bim Lady, how you do? Lucinda Allen, how are you? UB Shepherd, how are you doing? Cherry Berry, God is love. Diana Husbands, I am a big girl. Sandra Brewster, good evening. How is Sandra doing? Please take care of yourself. Matthew B, Beverly Perscott, Annette Brewster, Mavis Lashley, Marva Hunt, girl, Margaret Pollard, how are you? Judith Ann Clark, I think I'm going to see you on Sunday, Judith. Monica Ince, V. Hoy, how are you? Sonia Pert, and I have Shirley. I'm gonna advertise something a little later, and Shirley, you can't even participate in what I'm going to talk about, and neither can Vihoy, right? But something is coming up, Rosemary, where we're going to be able to see each other, and I wanted to make the effort to come out. I want to tell you soon. All right, Celia, I hope to see every one of you. Cherry, Bajan Boy, hope to see you all. Marcia Miller, Teroni, I said hi to you already, Teroni. Flojo Maloney, Owen Hines, Cami. When I make this announcement tonight, I hope you all come. There is a roadside parliament in our future, you all. There is a roadside parliament in our future. Coming up, Michael Jilt. Hey, Al. Hey. Oh, yes. Thank you, Al, saying they love the jewelry I wear. I've been trying to get the lady who, to give me, I asked her, can you give me a flyer? She said, I don't have any flyer. I said, listen, let me do a flyer for you. So I'm waiting on her to get the flyer so I can tell you all about her jewelry. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Teroni, for your compliment. Thank you. All right. Wonderful. Let's go to the races. I like athletics. So let's go. Now, this one is this NAPSAC there? So this is NAPSAC folks, and these are the children at primary school level. All right. So let's sit down and enjoy them a little bit. Go right ahead, Dave.
Time for the Patsy Calendar Zone, day 2 of NAPSAC 2026. Let's take a look at the 100 meters. This is the fastest section, and immediately in the middle of the field, Janique Allen of West Terrace was totally in control. Check the clock, 14.05 seconds the time. Nia Nurse of Wills was second, and Rosaria Jordan of Westbury third. The boys' equivalent now, and this race was much tighter than the girls. These two in a ding-dong battle. Who is going to win this case? Justice York for Shirley Chisholm in 13.85. Liam Botzel of Mount Tabor was second, and Kaylin Corbin of West Terrace third. Moving along to the under 11s, where the running was taking place in the center before Soraya Maskell showed her stripes. This is the eye of the tiger, folks. The rowing time was 15.30. Jamira Wave representing Shirley Chisholm was second, and third went to Kishara Maynard of St. Silas. Under 11 boys next, and this one was over pretty quickly to Jerry Holder with his darkers on. He took them on. West Terrace, no need to look left or right. That's the champion. Jelani Corbin of Wills was second, and Dazia Wilson of Shirley Chisholm finished third. Under 9 girls to finish off proceedings. The little ones having their fun in the sun. Look at the hands and feet moving in sync. Poetry in motion from Natalia Grisette Boyce. Nova Ray Edwards of St. Winifred's was the runner-up, while third went to Zamora Howell of Mount Tabor. And Mark Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sports.
You, you know, guys, it's just such a joy to watch these children. And I am going to be doing my best to get some behind the scenes footage from you for you. Mike on the move. We're back on the move. And so I'm going to be visiting some of these clubs. In fact, I was invited to a club tomorrow. Uh, Dave doesn't know this yet, but I've been invited to a club tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock to film them as they do all of their preparations for BSAC, which is now the secondary school part of the competition. But it's so important, to make sure that we are supporting our children. We see what's happening on the in the news, and we see them on the streets dead. But here you have children, young people with dreams and aspirations, something that they're working towards, they're competing. And so we want to make sure that we always support them. All right. So I'm hoping that tomorrow I can go with my camera and capture and get some good interviews for you guys, so that when you see them running, because we're gonna follow BSAC, then you're going to know, oh, that's that person. And Mr. Bob, he's very, very much involved with our young people as it relates to sports. And so he is going to also be helping us along and making sure we understand what's going on. Dave, do you have the junior national championships? And we're going to see we're actually, what we're going to see is a 100-meter under 20 girls and the 200-meter under 20 girls as well. And then there is, oh, Mr. Bob just sent me, Dave, a 400-meter under 17 boys was just sent to me as well. So let's watch a little bit of the junior national championship.
are there by Nyaners. And then you can hear they are running Nyaners. Winning the under 20 girls 100 meter hurdles.
Off and running. The question is who's going to stay with Anaya or get close to Anaya? Because Anaya has taken them out already with just 18 meters. She turns now for home. It's all Anaya Nurse. Who's going to come to her? Who's stepping to her? Still Nurse. On the outside, Rising Stars of Fear Greenwich looks good for second. But it's all Nurse. They're shutting down the engine. Easy. I run into.
Well, I tell you, one to watch is this Miss Anaya Nurse. You know, I'd love to be able to get an interview with her. You know, listen, this is how the Shelley and Fraser prizes start, you know. This is where it starts, and we're going to have to big up Anaya Nurse. So I'm going to go on a hunt to try to speak to Anaya Nurse. And so what you've just watched is the Junior National Championship, and that was the 100 meter under 20 girls and under 20 and 200 meters as well, under 20 girls. All right. And you might be asking, where are the boys? I didn't get anything for the boys to show this time around, but I'm going to go search for that and bring that to you. But I just want to remind you of BSSAC, all the events that's happening at BSSAC. Let me just remind you of that. The Barbados Secondary Schools Athletic Championships 2026 track events. And this is at the Usain Bolt Sports Complex. Barbados Light and Power Company Limited, Esther Maynard and Shane Brathwaite Zone. All right. So here you have, it's going to be on Monday, the 16th of March. Okay, Monday coming, 2026. And it's also going to be on Tuesday as well. I don't see the times on here, but I know Mr. Bob will give us the times at some point, or you can just search the internet. And then I think the next weekend is the finals, the 19th of March and the 20th of March. And those are all the sponsors there. And we thank God for all, yes, we thank God for all of these companies that are, you know, that are sponsoring the children. That is really, really wonderful. And you can just get a screenshot of the information and just, you know, search for it online. And we're going to do our best to bring the information to you. But we want to, as usual, you know, we try to find ways of supporting the young people, because this is one of the ways that we can curb crime in our country. And so this actually matters to us. Okay, somebody's telling me that the date at the bottom is wrong. Which at the bottom of the poster, Joanne? Let us know. Let us know. We appreciate that. Let us know if we're doing something wrong. Thank you so much. All right. So this is what we're doing, y'all, and I'm excited. I'm excited. Somebody said, Marcia, you're always doing something, but you know, you guys, you are the ones saying that we want to come together. This is since January. You've been saying you want to come together. We have not been together for a long. We had our dinner. We had our dinner and in December, and that was the last time I saw everybody. Right? That's the last time we saw everybody. Well, we have something coming up, and this is the preliminary poster. We are having a citizen budget reply. You think we're soft? You think we're soft? A citizen's budget reply, roadside parliament, an inside edition. Citizens budget reply, folks. It is on Tuesday. Now you say, Marcia, why is it on Tuesday and it's not on Saturday and it's not on Sunday? The reason for that my goodly people? It's because the budget will be on Monday. And we don't have no Mr. Thorne, you know. Remember when the budget, Mrs. Thorne would respond to the budget 24 hours later, right? We're a little bit off of the 24 hours because people are at work. Okay? But we are starting 6:30 the following day. Everybody flowing with me? Everybody flowing with me? Tuesday, March the 17th at 6:30. Marcia, why is it on a Tuesday? Anybody? We have, because that's how it's done. It's the following day that you respond to the budget. You don't wait a week later and days later, all right? And we are it. We're not waiting on anybody to come to save us. We are it. So this is a citizens budget reply roadside parliament. Roadside parliament. And it's going, we are renting, paying our own money and renting George Street Auditorium. How many of you know where George Street Auditorium is? Yes? Real issues, real people, real talk. How will the budget affect you? Have your say. Now, if you want to make a special short budget reply, I'm not telling you to come with a litany of issues. You must listen to the budget and you must be able, you have something you want to reply to in the budget. You want to reply to something in the budget? Then you send me a message. You all have the number 236-7000. You're a citizen. You want to reply to the budget? You can book a space to make sure, and we will call your name. We will say Teroni Hall, and you come and you take the microphone and you say what you have to say, right? You reply to the budget. Yes? How many of you, what you all think of this idea? You all wanted us to meet. I think this is a practical way for us to meet, and we get to see each other. And we will have a panel there of citizens, not necessarily of those who are panelists on the show, because we really want to build it out to you, the citizens. All right. So this is a citizens budget reply roadside parliament. It's an indoors edition. This is the first time we're having a roadside parliament indoors. Okay, normally our roadside parliaments are outside. You know that. But we are going to go inside because we want it to be a real discussion, and I feel like the energy of it is different. And then, as you know how we do it, we'll move and go somewhere else. But it's the first of our meetings. What are your thoughts? I only see one little hand shaking. Only one person coming. Oh, Teroni said he'll be there. Even if you're overseas and you can't attend, what are your thoughts? We want to hear your thoughts on this. All right. And if you have anything you want to add to it, you say, Marcia, if you do this, if you guys do this, it will make it a little better. All right. So I'm basically taking the show outside. All right. Somebody said they know. Okay, VI says it's a great idea. VI, you know, if you came and took this mic, I tell you, the whole place mash up. VI is a case. Cleveland says, okay, Cleveland will be there. Okay, wonderful. And remember, if you want to, Sandra said she'll be there. So at least 3 persons will be there. We need the place filled. Guys. We need to send a message. We want to send a message. Judy, I know you'll be there, Judy. I know Judy will be there. Yes. Okay, Sandra, you would like to be there. Okay, what's the problem, Sandra? Sandra, you're overseas? We can't send no airline ticket for you, Sandra. Vihoy, you said it's a great idea. Why do you think it's a great idea, Vihoy? Why do you say it's a great idea? We have a voice and it shall be heard. Yes. Yes, we can't afford. We can't afford silence. We can't afford silence. It's too expensive. Silence is too expensive. Silence is too expensive. It's the only way we can express our concerns right now. We will also be inviting the traditional media there as well. Okay, Sandra, just let us know, where do you live, Sandra? Where do you live? You can don't put all of your information on here. 236-7000. 236-7000. Listen, my brothers keepers, we can't finish late at night and then you have to go take you by yourself to the bus stand. We will say, come on, we can't do that. Somebody says, what has happened of Michelle from overseas? Well, she's from overseas. So she's gone back home, and just keep her in your prayers. Yes. And she watches the show from time to time as well. Michelle, if you're watching the show, give a thumbs up. The people want to know what has happened to you. Yeah, Michelle has been a very, very strong supporter of civic responses in Barbados, the citizens responding from Washington. She's poured out a whole lot into this country, given a whole lot of herself and her time, and we appreciate her. And that's why the people are asking for you, Michelle. So give a thumbs up if you're in the chat, if you're watching. Sandra, but she's back home. St. George South. Okay. So give me a call, Sandra Brewster, 236-7000. I'm sure we're in St. Philip. Somebody will give you a ride. We're family. Come on. Yes? Hey, Angela. Yeah, you see, Tanisha, if we said that we're going to have artists there to sing at the budget reply, and we had food at the budget reply, which is not a bad thing. If we had some refreshments, Tanisha, not some refreshments, because it's a Tuesday evening. People who are working, like if I had a lot of money, this is what I would do. I would provide a light refreshments for people who are coming straight from work. So what they can do is leave from work and go straight to George Street Auditorium, and they get something to eat. That's how Dave and I would. That's what we like to do that, but we don't have that kind of money. We're not going to have no artists there, no singing. We're not singing nothing. We're dealing with business. This is about what's going to happen in Barbados in the year. So we have no singing. But I know what Tanisha is saying. If I said there was going to be an artist there singing and plus food, isn't that sad? I don't even want to say it because it doesn't sound very good. Yeah? Yeah, so Mr. Thorne is not in Parliament, so we are there. We are there. We are there. We are his children. We are there. We are there. Correct. Michelle is home. Michelle lives somewhere now. Michelle lives somewhere. I don't understand you all. You don't think Michelle lives somewhere? Yes. Yes, an awesome human being. Okay. So folks, yes, it is. The food bring out the people. I mean, in our case, it's a convenience. You're helping someone because they're coming from work, right? That's how I see it. You're coming from work, and that would be great. So you might have a caterer out there, Say, Marcia, I'm a caterer, and you know all these ideas. And you know what? I want to provide some sandwiches for people as they come from work. And listen, I just believe that we need to take care of each other, right? That's it. Take care of the diaspora. They have been amazing in trying to encourage democracy in Barbados, right? And so it's time. We've got to do something, Barbados. We have got to do something. I know some of those in the diaspora, they're like even tired. They're trying and trying, and a lot of people here are not pulling their weight. You're not doing what you could do by just putting on your clothes, right? And get down there, fill up the space. Okay? All right. Well, we're going to go. This is a 400 meters there. Yeah, let's look at the 400 meters, and this is at the Junior National Championship. Go ahead, Dave.
These young boys will be running with Atash covered. Jelino Hamlet has gone as well. Khalil Bryan is also running well. Taj covered. Jelino Hamlet. Jacob Devonish of Bimpay. Here they come, ladies and gentlemen. These are under 17 boys, 400 meters.
Come touch it! Come touch it!
It's the time to beat Jelino Hamlet.
Right, so that was the 400 meters, and that's just to give you a little taste of what's happening, right? What's going to happen at BSAC that is coming up this weekend. They're going to have their zone finals, and then the following weekend, then they have the big finals. And listen, guys, Mike on the Move will be right there on the move, bringing it to you, so you can see what's happening with our children. But thank you so much, Dave. We are going to talk about our firemen, the fire service. Who is breaking the law? Who is breaking the law? And I want to thank the brave fire, those who work in the fire service. Let me put it like this, for speaking out. Okay. So let me begin like this. If a law is passed in 2020, right? Follow me. So the law is passed in 2020. And that law says that after 3 years of acting in a position, an officer should be promoted. And here we are in 2026. Right? It was 2022, it was passed. Then this is not a complicated matter, right? It's arithmetic. 3 years is 3 years. So the question tonight is simple. Is the law being ignored inside the Barbados Fire Service? Anybody who's seen the new Barbados Fire Service building? Who's seen that building? If you've seen that building, give me a thumbs up. It looks very good on the outside. Really nice. Really lovely. We still all don't believe it should have been moved from town. But as we've said, they seem to have a plan. And the plan is to push all of us inside. And then the coast is for their, for the elite. And so we're believing, it's our suspicion, that is why the fire station is moved on the inside. But it looks good. And we need to give the government, at least the outside looks good. We're going to show you some things on the inside. But they say that I don't commend the government It's a beautiful building. It is. It's beautiful on the outside. All right. So what about what is happening on the inside? What about the fire service providers? What about the firemen? What's happening to them? The fire officers, I need to say, because a serving fire officer has come forward alleging that several officers have been acting for more than 3 years and have not been promoted. Remember, 2020, what the law is passed that says that after 3 years of acting in a position, the fire officer should be promoted. It's now 2026, all right? And there are fire officers that have been acting for more than 3 years, and have not been promoted. Now, we need to understand what this means. This means that men and women carrying higher responsibility, doing higher work, taking higher risk without the rank, without the pay, without the recognition since 2020. You know that's bad for morale, right? And I want you to listen. It's not you. You don't have anybody who is a fire officer. You don't have anybody in your family that works there. But there are Barbadians who are hurting, who go there every morning. Some of them on long sick leave because they don't want to go up there. Since 2020, okay? This is going on. And when questions are asked, the response is, it's complicated. Complicated how? Is the law unclear, is what we're asking tonight? Or is it being selectively applied? Because if government passes legislation and then does not implement it, what message does that send to the public officers? What do you think? Put in the comment section. What message does that send to public officers? To follow the law or to depend on favor? Because it seems like that's what they want the fire officers to depend on, whether they like them or not. And it gets worse. We're told that the matter could be solved administratively by appointing officers to something called supernumerary position. Temporary appointments until vacancies open. So they could do something within the department. They could temporarily appoint until vacancies open. So are they telling us that this is a choice? This is what one union rep told those fire officers. Somebody who knows the labor laws says that they could do temporary appointments until vacancies open. If that is true, then the failure to act is not bureaucratic confusion, as they're saying, it's complicated. It's a choice, a decision. Somebody's making a deliberate decision to delay. And this is like a deliberate delay. Now, officers, as a result of that, officers have been financially disadvantaged for years because of that delay. So we're not just talking about frustration, we're talking about being financially disadvantaged. Now, I'm going to tell you something, you see, because I'm going to share this here with you guys. And this is why you see a lot of times there's so much wastage in government, right? Now, we're told of an officer. Listen to this, guys. Listen to this, Bajans. We're told of an officer who was sent home and charged for not shaving. So this officer sent home because he's supposed to shave and he didn't shave. So he was sent home. Those are the rules. And for 3 years, everybody put up 3 fingers. 3 years. 3 years. This officer reportedly comes to work, performs no duties, and leaves at the end of the day. 3 years. That is public money that is being wasted. Three years of salary, no productivity, no resolution. And I suspect this guy, he has gotten some lawyer and they told him show up to work. So he just shows up to work. He comes to work, perform. They give him no duties and he leaves at the end of the day. And he's been doing that for 3 years. Right inside that nice, pretty building. Three years of salary, no productivity, no resolution. So what are we doing? We're funding dysfunction. Now, Dave, you have a picture there of the urinals of the inside. I told you we're going to go inside. We're going to go inside of this. We're going inside this beautiful building that you're seeing outside. And isn't it beautiful? You've got to give Jack the jacket. The building looks lovely. It's beautiful. Now, let's look on the inside of this building that has just been finished just before elections. They went and they opened the building officially. Let's look at this. Play the video, Dave. Thank you. Let me move this. Play it again, Dave. Now, what's happening there? Anybody can take a guess. Take a guess for me. Everybody, you're watching. What's happening there to the in this bathroom? I know it's bathroom. It's kind of gross, but thank God it's clean. What's happening there? What's happening there? If you could put it back, Dave. Thank you. What's happening there? Huh? Water is wasting. And do you know this video was sent to me in December? This video, I kid you not. The latest would be early January, but I know it was before we went off for Christmas. It is now March. This video was sent to me before they went and did the ceremony to open the building. I was waiting to see if it would be fixed months, and this water runs there for days. Every single day since they have opened the building, water wasting. Who was the contractor? This seems like it would appear that this is substandard work. It appears that way. There's no urgency to fix it. It's been going on like that for months. And when I bring these things, they say, I'm trying to embarrass Barbados. That's what they tell me online. I had that sitting on since December. In a country that we're constantly talking about conservation. Water is just running. It looks to me, I think 2 urinals and a toilet. Dave, you can correct me. Right there at that brand new spanking fire station. So here's what tonight is really about. We're asking a question there. Is there a breakdown of management inside the fire service? Is the Ministry of Home Affairs aware of what's happening? The low morale of the staff, of the fire officers, because they're not being compensated properly, they're not getting their promotions, they're financially disadvantaged. And you have wastage of water for months. That has been going on there for about 3 months. January, February, March, and I said I got it December. So we're asking Minister Gregory Nichols, I know you just got the ministry. We're asking you, sir, to take a look at this. This is wastage. What happens when morale collapses inside these essential services? It's the public that eventually feels it, you know. Fire officers are not desk administrators. These are the men and they're the women who run into burning buildings. We want to make sure that they're happy. Don't just give them a beautiful building on the outside and inside it is toxic. If they feel ignored, bypassed, or if they feel that they're being treated unfairly, don't we think that's going to affect their readiness to run into burning buildings? From my understanding, a lot of people are taking sick leave. Sick leave. That affects discipline. That affects trust. So tonight, this is not about gossip. This is real. This is real. Gregory Nichols, it's real. I know you just got the job and you might not be aware. So we're making you aware. So we're asking you, Mr. Gregory Nichols, the minister, is the 2020 promotion law being enforced? Why are fire officers allegedly acting beyond 3 years without elevation? We would like to know, why would a workplace dispute drag on for 3 years unresolved? That we're talking about the man who did not shave and that's going on now for 3 years unresolved. And who is accountable for the administrative culture inside this service? This is too important to us as Barbadians. If the law exists, you're a lawyer, Gregory Nichols. You're a lawyer. If the law exists, it must apply. Apply it fairly. And if it does not apply, then someone needs to explain to the fire officers why. Because morale is low at this time. Not tomorrow. It needs to be done now. And when I say tomorrow, I mean proverbially. Tomorrow here means, oh, we're going to do it tomorrow. That is years down the road. This is something that can be done. Have a meeting with them. It needs to be done now. And as I said, I've held on to that story for a while now and waiting for the right time, just checking to see what is happening. See, Rodney says, I'm a plumber. The toilet needs fixing. The toilet needs fixing. How you can, a big spanking building and look at this. It's a beautiful building. trying to read some of your comments. Somebody says an automated flush system. Sensors detect humans. Really, and it's running like that. Where it just keeps running. Somebody said, well, they could have what. They said, well, them could have fires with that water that running out. I mean, it's ironical, isn't it? It's like it's irony. Water is being wasted at the fire service. Isn't it ironical? (2026) with the same problem. They build something and don't include maintenance in the plan. Poor management. It's a management problem. I've seen these kinds of bathrooms are in like when you pass through Miami or etc. It's sensor. There's a sensor. That's not how the sensor. That's not how it works. When it is automated, that's not it. It's just water flowing. Yeah. And this was a beautiful ceremony, and so it's a beautiful building, and we're going to give that to the government. It's beautiful, but we're asking them to kind of look at all of them dress up to come there. Jerome Walcott, you had the Prime Minister, everybody's there. Cattle is there, yes. And they're all cutting the ribbon, and the water is wasting. So it is a beautiful building, and we give them all the kudos for that. But fix the wastage of water inside the fire service. In addition to that, fix the morale of the fire service personnel, please. The fire officers, fix the morale, and all you've got to do. Follow the law, or if they don't understand, explain to them why the law is not being followed, because they feel that they are being sidelined, marginalized, victimized. Yeah. All right. Okay. So some of you're reading a couple of your notes there. All right. The next thing that I want us, somebody said he sent home a fireman for speaking up. Yes, I heard that there's a lot of victimization when you speak up there at the fire service. Is that true? Is that true? We want to encourage our people to speak up respectfully, but speak up. And as I said, when I start to put these things out, then what they say to me, Marcia, you are embarrassing the country. This is what they tell me. Did you all know that the picture that we had of the bathrooms at the airport, that the person who took that contacted me and said, Marcia, we wrote a letter in November and in December, or September and November, I'm sorry. We wrote a letter about those bathrooms September and November. And then they sent the picture to me. You see what I'm saying? In this case, with these bathrooms, we've had these pictures since December, this video since December. Yeah. All right. So we're going to tonight we're touching on various topics. Remember that at 9 o'clock you can call in and you can have a discussion of any questions, any comments on this particular issue. You can write down what you want to say so you don't forget, and make sure you give me a call 236-7000, 236-7000, 246 area code. All right. Yes. The question is, did you like and share as yet? Did you like and share? Dave, while we segue into the next topic, which we're going to talk about the Cuban situation, the Cuban nurses and Cuban professionals, not just nurses, but also Cuban professionals. Dave, if you can go ahead and put up the the citizens budget reply. Citizens budget reply. What day is it? Who remembers what day is the citizens budget reply and where is it going to be? Dave, can you put that up for me while I get ready for the next topic? Yes, so okay, we got it. So on the budget is going to be on the 16th. We're going to be read on the 16th. And what we're going to do, we're going to have a citizens budget reply, on the 17th at 6:30. It's a face-to-face gathering right there at George Street Auditorium. We are renting the auditorium and we are going to have our citizens budget reply. We're inviting everybody to come out. If you have, after listening to the budget and you have a particular area that you would like to, to speak on, you have something to say about it, give me a call ahead of time and we can have it all prepared. Yes, and we will be able to call out your name and you come up and say what you have to say. All right. Or if you can't walk, we take the mic to you. But everybody, listen, we're breaking the silence. We're breaking the silence. All right. So let me just get this up on the screen. And Dave, I'm sure he's going to find some pictures of the Cuban medical missions. And I know we are talking a lot about the medical missions, but in Barbados and in the Caribbean, what we do, we do have Cubans who are here not just as in the medical profession. We have Cubans here in sports. How many of you knew that? There are Cubans here, right here in Barbados, who are training our swimmers. Cubans train our swimmers. Yes, we have Cubans who are training even they train people even in track and field, all kinds of sports, because Cubans, they're very, very good, great artisans, excellent at what they do, whether it is sports or it is art. They're excellent in that, right? Yes. So, but tonight I'm gonna talk to you about this Cuba medical missions, and I know it's going to, it's a topic that has us a bit divided, but I'm going to give you a little history on it. Okay. For 50 years, Caribbean countries have benefited from Cuban doctors and nurses. Did you all know that? For over 50 years, Cuba has been supplying us with doctors and nurses. Anybody been ever looked after by a Cuban doctor? We praised Cuba. We thanked Cuba. We relied on Cuba. But now what are we hearing? This is throughout the Caribbean. Payments sent to Havana, but not directly to the workers. Now, I can tell you, and I'm going to be honest and confess to you that our school praise academy had a Cuban dance teacher. Yes, for probably over 2 years. And the contract that we signed was not signed with the dancer. It was signed with the state. No, honestly, I didn't even realize something was wrong with that, until when she came here. She was explaining, telling me, Marcia, they don't give me all the money. I don't get all the money. Right? Workers are retaining only a fraction. And a lot of times you see things in the media, you hear people talking, and I know right now we're hearing things through and seeing things through the lens of America. But I'm telling you a real situation. So you're going to either have to, I'm hoping that at least you listen to what I'm telling you. I have had an experience of hiring a Cuban professional, a wonderful lady. But she explained to me when she got here. Okay? Now, according to the agreement, we were supposed to hold her passport. The passports were supposed to be held. She wasn't supposed to have her passports. And that is to restrict movement. And some of the doctors in the region, that is what has happened to them. Movement restricted, no clarity on how much the doctors themselves actually received. According to the Jamaican government, who is now claiming they're acting like they just knew about it, they say we tried to restructure the arrangement. We insisted workers be paid directly. Cuba refused. The program ended. So if that is true, then we must ask Jamaica and Guyana, who is saying now that Cuba no longer wants to work with them. What were we participating in for 50 years? What would you call that? Let me pause and get everybody involved. What would you call that? What is it you think that we would be? What were we participating in? I'm just gonna let you answer it, right? Don't tell me nothing about America right now. I just want you to talk about the arrangement. I'm telling you facts. This is what I researched and plus what I experienced with the dancer. What do you call it? Pedro said slavery. Somebody said human trafficking. I don't know. What do you call? I want to hear from you, because a lot of times when these things are said, when we hear it, when we see through the lens of what America is doing this thing. Medical human trafficking? Complicit? They were complicit with the communism? I just want us, especially us on here, to think about what we're dealing with right now and apply some thought to it. According to Jamaica's foreign ministry, salaries calculated equal to Jamaican doctors. Jamaica paid the Cuban government in US dollars. Overtime is paid directly to the workers. They don't know what portion went to the workers. And they're concerned about the Jamaica, concerns are raised under the Jamaica labor law, the tax law, the International Labor Conventions. Jamaica says that they ask for direct payment to workers, They ask that workers retain their passports. And they pointed out that there are other places that in the Caribbean, because Barbados is claiming that they paid the Cuban doctors at the same rate as the Barbadian doctors. But you know what Barbados need to make clear is this: did you pay them all of that money directly? Did you pay them, the doctors, directly? There's a human rights group called Cuba Archive. They are alleging that workers are allowed to retain only $200 monthly. That's what they're saying. The Cuban state retains up to between 50 to 80%. If this is true, and I know in our case that I can't remember the percentage that was given to the Cuban dancer, but I know that they retains do retain a large portion of it, because the young lady came to me and wanted to do something extra so she could live, and showed me her picture of her son, right? The human rights group says that passports are held, political restrictions, social restrictions, surveillance, and they receive repatriation threats. Some have described it as modern day servitude, state controlled labor export. And this is not about propaganda. It's about a simple question. Would we accept these conditions so Barbadian nurses or doctors, or Jamaican doctors, Guyanese doctors or nurses working in another country? Suppose they went to Canada to work. Would you want their passports to be held, and they're only paid a fraction of what they earn? If a Caribbean government, Barbados, Jamaica, or Guyana, took 60% of the nurse's salary overseas, what would we call that? Another question. Let me check the chat. What would we call that? What do we call that? Yeah, I know you said don't indict her myself, but I have to be real, and it's the truth. It happened. It's the truth. I'm not going to sit on here and lie. And this is real. This is real. This is a real thing that is happening. Okay? That's slavery. Yeah, that's what we call it. We called it that, Pedro. We called it that. So remember I told you the salary for us at our school was negotiated with the Cuban government, not the teacher. A large portion went to the Cuban state. And guess what happened? Eventually the teacher defected. We went to Praise Academy one morning, the teacher was not there. Gone. That is a lived Caribbean reality. When I checked in Jamaica, there was another teacher there, fantastic teacher, and they went to the school one morning and the teacher was gone. So here's the moral question that we're asking. It's uncomfortable. Many of us, we admire Cuba. Is that you? I love Fidel Castro. I love Che Guevara. Did I pronounce his name right? Che Guevara. Love that. I've read his books about him. I'm a Fidel. I'm being honest tonight. I'm telling you, because I love the fact that Fidel Castro stood up to America. I love that. We admire Cuba because Cuba stood up to the US. It survived sanctions. Don't we like that? They've got grit. It sent doctors during COVID. Thank God for them. Cuba trained Caribbean students. But the reality is, admiration for resistance does not cancel labor rights. It does not cancel human rights. You and I love Castro, and we love that he stood up to the US, and that Cuba survived. Cuba strong. Cuba survived sanctions. But we cannot encourage. We can't. Our admiration for the resistance does not cancel labor rights and human rights and worker autonomy. I know this is not a hot topic that we're all excited about, although I'm still going to ask you to share, like and share. I'm still going to ask you to do it. But I think it is something that it matters. It matters, Barbados. Because it's unjust. And when we think of the climate that we're living in and the fear, right now we have a one-party parliament, and we are so terrified, watching closely what is going to happen to us in here. Can you imagine the people? Have we ever stopped and thought about the people in Cuba and how they live? Are we so anti-American that we ignore worker exploitation? And you know the hurtful part about this, guys, is that it took Washington to raise the issue. I've never heard that discussed in the Caribbean before. In fact, when I first heard Trump them with it, I was brushing it off. I'm like, here we go again. Of course, you know they have ulterior motive. They don't care about no workers in there. America don't care about those workers. But why did it take Washington to raise the issue? That's the shameful part. And it's not because they're morally superior. They're going to use it as an opportunity. But we sat here in the Caribbean with Cuba part of us, just a few yards from Jamaica. We are benefiting from the workers, whether it is medical workers, sports, arts, and we did not ask these questions. I didn't hear any of the leaders, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't hear CARICOM making a big thing about this to Cuba. Here are the questions I want to ask all of us. We're adults. We're intelligent people. Does paying a foreign government instead of the worker violate international labor conventions? Do you think that paying a foreign government instead of the worker who works, do you think that violates international labor conventions? Would you call this human trafficking? Is this what is called forced labor under the ILO definition? Lots of questions, you know. Did the Caribbean governments know? And if they didn't know, how could you not know? And if you knew, were we all complicit? You see what I mean? Because I had a Cuban teacher. So I'm throwing myself in it as well. Got caught up with Cuba. You know, you go and you see the beautiful cars, and they have the cars, those antique cars on the road, and it's beautiful. The buildings beautiful. How are the people living? Do we think Washington genuinely is concerned about labor rights? I could be too skeptical. I don't believe so. I believe it's more geopolitical pressure. Or some people might say both can be true at the same time. Would we accept our own workers being treated this way? And if the question is not, why did we normalize it, including myself, for Cubans? Why did we normalize it for Cubans? Why did we normalize it for Cubans? Don't tell me anything about America in answering that. Why did we normalize it for Cubans? Yeah, it violates everything. But Bihar, did you know about this? I know you live overseas. But it's not something that we all like to talk about or we want to talk about. Folks, I need you to like and share. Please, everybody, do that for me. I am being shadow banned at the moment. Yeah, they're working. That's what they're doing. It's not. So this is not taxes. You know, we pay a percentage of our salary for, you know, taxes. Somebody says because we think we're above. Yeah, but a lot of us, even when it came out last year, because America was saying it, I wasn't listening to them. You know, Bihoy, I really wasn't listening to them because America was saying it. But it's a real situation, and we need to, you know, I don't know if it's actually human trafficking, but I know it's unjust. I don't know if I would go as far as, well, the passport part of it is bad, where they can't use their passport. You know, in some cases, well, you know, we did give her back the passport because I just felt bad holding on to the woman passport. I didn't. I gave it. Took it to the embassy. I gave it back. I just, because by the time she explained everything, I realized what we were involved in. Somebody says, Heathcliff says, we only see exploitation when we are the victims. It appears as if we are indifferent when it comes to other ethnicities and nationalities. It's true. We only, you know, I tell you, black people sometimes all we can think of is slavery, the slave trade, African slave trade. Yes, Pedro, in myself, I knew it was wrong. I couldn't hold the woman's thing. And we did do extra for her when we realized how much was being sent, you know. But the bigger question to Pedro is, why didn't I make a big thing about it? You know, why didn't I make why did I go the second year and renew the contract with the Cuban government? It is a communist government. Yes, Peter Hill, I understand, but I'm just saying that, and you're right. I because I love Cuba so much, Peter Hill, bear with me. I did not want to accept that it's really communist. You understand? I don't know, but I'm being honest. Yes, we have the habit of not speaking out. Yeah, yeah. Pedro, you always want to make sure we remember that the Africans were selling slaves as well. We got it, Pedro. You have been doing that for over 2 years on this show. Ah, we know that Africans were selling slaves too. Yes, Pedro, and you're right. Yes. Yes. No, I agree with you, Square Four. The question is to ask our government: when did you stop the program? Did you stop the program after America flagged it? When did you stop the program? And a show like this and a discussion like this, to be honest, you're not going to hear this happening on a lot of mainstream media. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. And we know every story has two sides. The reality, I'm on the side of the workers. What side are you on? I love Cuba. I had a great time in Cuba. Even the Airbnb that we went to. The gentleman explained that the money goes to the government and then the government give them some. When we paid the Airbnb we stayed at, it goes to the government. Even the Wi-Fi was rationed. Correct, Jasper. We got to deal with what it is. Now, as I said, America is always America. Sorry to my Americans watching. But I think you know that too. I don't believe they're going in there to try to rescue any workers and concerned about any workers. Right? Yeah. You know, yeah, she said she will give up her visa as well. So why didn't you continue the program? That's the thing. Continue the program. Do what they were doing. Continue the program. Did you listen to her to the we're gonna do that one night, the press release that the Prime Minister of Barbados, or that the government of Barbados released concerning the war in Iran? Totally ridiculous. But we'll talk about that another night. Correct. Yes. And I agree that's what they were doing. That they were. I don't even, and I wouldn't even call it human trafficking. But the reality is this: that we should have raised it. We should not participate in it. I know that is what they might say, but then you're passing the blame. Yeah. It's just wrong. It is wrong, and that's, to me, it's things like that that CARICOM should have been you know raising these issues and negotiating them, and right. Yeah. Don, have you been to Cuba? Anybody on the live has been to Cuba? Who's been to Cuba? In 2026, humans should be free to work, love, traverse. This level of exploitation is just sad, yes. And I want to say something to you guys, that I know I see Barbados deciding which colonizer, or they said they are, or which I'm gonna use the word colonizer because colonization happens in different ways. That we, which master we want, whether it's US or we want China. It's interesting to listen to people have that kind of discussion, trying to make up their minds which one they want. Do I want China or we should go with China? You ever hear people? We should go to America. When everybody said friends of all and satellites of none, right? No, let's line up with China. Let's line up with the US. And we divided on which master we want to serve. Very interesting, huh? This is where we are in 2026. Who am I going to serve? And on that note, let me go quickly to BIMPI while Miss McLean is getting ready to join us. Let's talk about BIMPI because the reason I say let's go over to BIMPI. It's a short little segment, but I want us to talk about BIMPI. Okay. Anybody knows what BIMPI is? What is BIMPI? Don't know if Dave can put it up if he finds anything there. What is BIMPI? Anybody? I'm waiting for somebody. Dawn. Dawn by nature, come to the front of the class. That's a great question that Dawn has there. I'm going to come back to that question. Dawn. Dawn is asking if the Chinese workers work here, are they treated the same way? Because they're in a communist regime. You see this thing? Where is Dawn's comment? This thing is deep here. This is why I wasn't even thinking about this, Dawn. I didn't go that far in my thinking. Are the Chinese workers here treated the same way? They're coming from a communist regime. And they're here working, living in these communes. Are we following the ILO as it relates to the Chinese workers and the Indian workers? But let's deal with the Chinese because they're communist-like. You see what I'm talking about? Well, I didn't even raise this. What are your thoughts about this before we go to this BIMPI? Quick, the BIMPI will be quick. But this, Dawn, you're opening up a whole can of worms here. I don't know, because I don't know the contractual arrangements with these different countries and so on. It's just an ethical and a moral question we're asking. We do not have contracts to see contracts. We don't know, but we are just inferring because if this is being raised about the Cuban workers, what about the Chinese workers? Hoy is thinking no, that they're not, that she believes they're treated better. I don't know, but it's something to look into. It is something to look into. Somebody saying allegations are being made that they're prisoners. I've been hearing that. We don't know. Okay, Jasper. Jasper, you have facts on this. You're saying the Chinese project managers are not paid locally. Their money is repatriated. A Chinese project manager told you that? Mm. I want to go on BIMPay, but these questions are coming through. This person is asking me, how did you find the lifestyle of the Cubans you encountered in Cuba? I need more information before taking a stance. Well, the truth is that a lot of the ones that I saw there, they were, I would say, from what I saw, mainly, poor to middle class, is what I saw. And I mean, the people were happy. They seemed happy, but I didn't know enough Spanish to speak to them. I know that they had to, when the Wi-Fi was rationed, and they would come out and sit on their stoops to go on their phone to send a message to America or wherever. I know that I could see that life was hard for the ones I saw. And the place that we stayed at, the Airbnb, they knew some English and they explained, their situation to us. So, but I'd say I had a great time. I love history, and so I had a great time there. But Rescue BIM, it's not about about the lifestyle of the Cubans that we encountered. We've just put to you a situation here, which is a fact of how the Cubans are paid. And I gave you my personal experience exposing myself. So let's look at the facts that's put before us. And also, and don't include America in that, because we know they have ulterior wicked motive. I am talking about the situation that the working conditions, then, okay, is what I'm asking about. Okay. All right, let me just take a few minutes of Miss McLean's time, and she's going to get back her time, just to talk about BIMPay. And I'm just touching this tonight, just 3 minutes. Barbados is rolling up BIMPay, and everybody's asking, if all transactions move through one digital rail, what happens to my data? So basically, what is happening with BIMPay, as somebody says, is the government sure pay. Am I right with that? It's like the government sure pay. I like when people make it easy. So the government is developing a system where, this is how you pay your bills. And everybody, whether it's a government or private sector, everybody pay through BIMPay, right? It's centralized through the central bank, right? So the question is, if all transactions move through one digital rail, what happens to my data? Think about it. But I want to remind us that we do have the Data Protection Act. Remember that? We went through that on the show, Data Protection Act of 2019. And that act governs how personal data, including financial data, must be handled, right? So the key issue is not whether the data will exist. Yes, the government will have your data, because you have to go and you have to register with BIMPay. And the way it is set up is that you're going to have to register, because that's the way that you have to pay your bills. All right? And once you register, they will have your data. The question is going to be whether the data is legally protected. Under the Data Protection Act, I did some research on it today. Your name, your ID number, your financial transactions, your account information, all qualify as personal data. That means any entity operating BIMPay, including the Central Bank of Barbados, should and must, according to the law, collect the data lawfully, and they should and use it for a defined purpose. Secure it against unauthorized access and not retain it longer than necessary. Barbadians need to know that your digital payment data is not outside that law, right? It fits squarely inside of it. Your rights as a citizen. The Act gives you rights, including the right to know what data is held about you. We're speeding through this tonight, but we're going to be back on this. The right to request access to it. The right to have inaccurate data corrected. The right in certain cases to object to any processing of your data. So even though the transactions that you're going to with this Bimpay, because it's coming, it's at the end of March. It's here. It's coming. They're having a little harder time in Jamaica because Jamaica voted in an opposition. They have opposition. Their opposition is very strong. So their Bimpay, as it's called, what again, Dave? Okay, you can write it in the comment section, in the thing section for me. Their Bimpay, Jamaica's Bimpay is really going slow in terms of implementing because of the strong opposition in Jamaica. That's asking them to cross the T's and dot the I's. We don't have that. We have us, the people. And so we're trying our best to kind of bring it to you, right? So we must ask the government, is the Data Protection Commissioner fully operational? The Data Protection Commissioner, is that person fully operational? And also, are they independent? Are they independent in thought? Is there independent oversight of digital payment systems? How are audits going to be conducted? What safeguards prevent unauthorized internal access? And under what legal circumstances can data be accessed or shared? We would have seen how many times their data was, that they hacked our data systems in Barbados, or whether it's a hospital or wherever. These are not conspiracy questions, right? These are governance questions. Centralization doesn't automatically mean surveillance, But if you have a government centralized but your data is centralized, but there's no responsibility, or if the government becomes tyrannical, becomes dictatorship, right? If Bimpay becomes a core national payment rail, which it is, that's what is happening in 2 weeks. Then transparency, oversight, and enforcement of the Data Protection Act must be stronger than ever. And we are going to be pushing that on the show. Technology, we know, moves fast, and the law must move with it. And us as citizens, we must understand it. Yes? And let me bring Miss McLean in. Good night, Miss McLean. I have had you waiting there about 9 minutes.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I am great. I am great. I am great. And you?
I am doing fine, thanks. I was just trying to see if we could get an answer to one of your questions about personal data, but I'll try later. Just a quick question, though.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, because I'm going to give you back the time.
What's the difference between BIMPI as a payment system in terms of data shared with some entity and a credit card or debit card used with a commercial bank? Remember, of course, especially with foreign currency utilization, we have to get central bank permission. Where each citizen is allocated a certain amount of money And you know that if you go over the limit, you will hear that very quickly from the issuer of your credit card. You're over the limit, we can't settle this. So I am just wondering, what's the difference between that and an instant payment, where there obviously is either, from the little I understand, a connection with an existing bank, or in the same way that you put money on your cell phone, on your, you know, for cell phone, if you have a prepaid arrangement, you're sharing information with some entity. So my question is, what is the essential difference, if any? Because as I listen, I don't have the answer. So I was just thinking, we share information.
Thinking aloud, yeah. We're already sharing information. I think with
in so many ways.
Yes, what I understand with the BIMPay is that it is no longer it is centralized. So the government, the central bank has the database, right, of all the payments. So you know, before you could pay there are different ways you could pay. So my understanding is that this is now in terms of digitally. From the little that I read today, is this is now the way. So they're closing down all the other ways that you can actually
all the other ways.
The digital. So the system. So there's a particular system that would allow you to be able to do those kinds of payments. And I'm told I can't say too much of that. I'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay, but because it is an important one, but you had me thinking, so I will ask some questions of some people who may know.
Yes, but I spoke to somebody in banking today.
For years with credit cards and so on and so on. These things. And I think those are questions that if people have not been asking, then you need to ask them, you know, so that people really understand what it is and what are the essential similarities and what are the essential differences between that, you know, and other options. And what options will we have if you're saying it, you know? Okay, right, yeah.
All right. Well, let's go straight to that tourism budget. And I know you have a lot to say on that. You've always had a lot to say about tourism, and so I'm going to shut up and let you go at it.
Well, I think before we even as we look at the numbers, one of the concerns I have when we're talking about allocating finances is that we want as accurate a picture as possible of money, taxpayers' dollars going to any sector or agencies within a sector. A critical part of the administration, the oversight, the operation, the facilitation, we can use all of those words, of tourism. A critical part of that is the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc., which is a statutory corporation. You know, it is not part of the general public service. And some years ago, when this government came into operation, I think there was a clear separation, and you typically wouldn't see reflected in estimates generally monies that go, you might see a transfer. So the first question I ask is, how much money is available to entities within the central public service or government entities providing services or participating in tourism services delivery? And the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. is a big one. I was trying my best before the program, even while I was listening to the program this evening, tonight, to see if I could put my hand on the most recent annual report. Because when we look at these numbers, this is money that goes to the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, But we also want to see very clearly their transfers here. And I noticed Dave has highlighted transfers of 9.42 million. And I can go to the head and look for where that is going. But I can tell you that I am sure that a lot more money is allocated to marketing support to airlines, to pay for marketing visits overseas, trade missions and that kind of thing. And unless we have very up-to-date reports, unless we have, and not even only the annual report, unless we are seeing that, then I don't think that we have a full and comprehensive picture. I don't know if you follow what I'm saying, in terms of being able to say that the money is being accounted for properly, or that our money is being allocated sensibly. Because what we may very well find is that somehow, somewhere along the line, that we're collecting levies and other monies, but we are not seeing how they are accounted for. And I think that is one of the, I haven't heard, but I didn't get to listen to all of the discussion in relation to this, but I do not recall hearing any serious questions asked about that situation, because I think that there's a lot of money not accounted for in these numbers, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
I think so. So, that is one of the first things, because we have here, as you have the statutory, you have the allocation, non-statutory appropriation, which is from what I call the big book, which is outside of salaries, personal emoluments, of 31.5 million. But we know that over the years, government has spent a whole set of money marketing Barbados overseas and Barbadian tourism related properties and services and so on. And I think that is absolutely necessary. So I actually am going to go to Head 27 and see if I can pull up that breakdown, because I think it is absolutely necessary that we have that kind of information, because it's okay to tell us that we had a record high of long stay visitors in 2025, and it says a 3.3% over 2024, and so on. But at the end of the day, what is the average spend of those? How much money did we spend to attract those visitors to Barbados? Because if we can look at the annual marketing budget of the BTMI, for example, and we divide that budget by 730, I like to round the number, 730,000 visitors, we can then see on average we spent X dollars and cents per passenger. Or if we look and see how much money was spent in North America, because for example, the US they've stated strong US market growth, 8.1%. But with that strong growth, are we looking strictly at numbers? Because we also have to look at things like bed nights. How much time did they actually spend on the island? Because we also know that when you contrast Europeans and North Americans in terms of holiday time, the amount of time that people get on holiday, North Americans get like 2 weeks. If you get 3 weeks holiday in US, Canada, you're probably doing well. Not Europeans, on the other hand, can have 6 weeks holiday. So it is not uncommon to see a European visitor a long stay visitor deciding to spend 2 weeks in Barbados. You understand? And so you start to look at spend. So there are a lot of things that we would want to have dissected, because if we do that, and I'm gonna see if I can pull up Head 27 to look under the Ministry of Tourism for those transfers, where those transfers went to, and typically you go to the back of the thing, and you would see where they have the transfers.
But while you're doing that, let me allow you
Mhm.
to take the time to do that. I wanted to bring to the attention because
Mhm.
you know I like the numbers.
Right.
To look at we'll see the difference between the non-statutory appropriation, which is 31.57 million, and the statutory is 39.19 million. Right? So there is a
Mhm.
$6.6 million difference there. And I think it's important. We've seen this come up, and there's another ministry where the footprint, we see that the footprint is when you go inside now and look at the
Mhm.
allocation and you add up the wages and salaries and you add up the goods and services and the transfers and the capital expenditure, it is more than the 31.57 million, which is what the minister is speaking about in when they when they're in the well, when that spoke about
Right.
in the well. But the actual statutory total is 39.19 million. So there is that $7.6 million difference, which would be
Right.
interesting as we listen to the budget to see if we get some understanding of why there is that difference. What could what is that? What is that all
Well, now,
about?
if you look at as I say, the statutory comes from something called the schedules of personal emoluments, for
Yes.
example. So if you look under the summary of personal emoluments under the responsibility of the Minister of Tourism and International Transport,
Mhm.
and then they have it broken down into statutory personal emoluments. The total actually, if you add 31.57 and add to that, I will round it
7.6.
to 7.3 million.
Uh-huh.
That is, and this is how it's broken down here. It says Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, head 27, then 040, Direction and Policy Formulation Services, General Management and Coordination Services. You have statutory personal emoluments, $1,056,888. Then you have another $94,891 as other personal emoluments, and then you have other personal allowances, $59,195. National insurance, $96,071, totaling for that item, that line there, the general management and coordination services, approximately 1.3 million. Then you
Okay.
have research and product development unit, statutory personal emolument, 622,792, other personal emoluments, which is interesting. When you hear other, you tend to think of a smaller number. Other personal emoluments, 420,000. Then there's something called the National Tourism Program. What that is, 57,000. And you go through, and then you have general management, international transport, and air transport infrastructure. So all of those, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 broad categories. The air transport infrastructure, Air Navigation Services Department, their personal emoluments, statutory personal emoluments, is 4,152,358. So all of those total the 7.295 million, which is 7.3 million. So that relates to salaries and so on, and then it comes across, and when you add in all the national insurance, etc., that figure, because it's the statutory, then other personal and the other categories, allowances, etc. That whole, what I would call wage bill, comes to $10,250,382. So in essence, if you look at that, and then you look at the non-statutory, which is I think the 31 that you mentioned.
Yeah.
That kind of brings it up to about almost 40 million.
40 million. Okay, so that explains it.
About 40 million.
Yeah.
So
David, we can go up a little bit. Go up a little bit, Dave. But I think one of the things as I looked at it today, I thought about whether are we investing fast enough, as the question I have on there, in the infrastructure that tourism depends on, because we would have seen some of, like the airport, the condition of parts
Uh,
of the airport and so on. I mean, this is a lot
mhm.
of money being spent. I wonder if we are putting enough in the infrastructure. Seeing that we're saying that it was, we had a booming year, you know,
And that
last
is that
year.
is an important question. In fact, let me start with the very critical air traffic controllers facilities. And remember that whole discussion that
Yes,
arose out of the industrial action taken and the problems that for a long time, these workers, they were complaining about issues there. Now, if we are projecting all of this growth, if we are supporting that projection of growth by construction, we've seen some actual construction on the ground. There's rebuilding, which is probably just replacing some existing rooms, but there are also projections of significant investment in additional hotel beds, etc. The people that walk into Barbados, they're gonna fly here. Even if they come on a cruise ship, some of them will have to fly. We know, I was explaining to a Barbadian who is on holiday from overseas. They were talking about the number of jets that they saw, and we were watching, because this was at the beach this morning. We watched two cruise ships sailing, and I explained to the lady
yes,
that what is in fact happening when you see those are not necessarily long stay visitors. In fact, if you look at some of the statistics I'm going to refer to in a minute, you would see that they're passengers who come in. I mean, they come in to join the ships, and then passengers, there's a transfer, and what we call air to sea transfer. People fly in to join the cruise ships, people exit the cruise ship and get on those same planes and fly back out. So that is part of what we're looking at in terms, and that's why you have a separation of long stay numbers and cruise passengers. But as you said, if we have these positive projections of growth,
right,
question is, what supporting infrastructural maintenance expenditure and expansion of facilities, etc., is taking place? Because you have, okay, let's look at the cruise passengers, for example. As you know, I spent about 14 years around the cruise industry. With the numbers increasing, and with the numbers increasing in either home porting, where you have an air to sea, the very ones I described just now. There was a squeeze for space in the airport. Where do passengers, think of a cruise ship with 5,000 passengers, and perhaps 4,000 of those or more get on the cruise ship here in Barbados and exit the cruise ship. A plane can only carry 300 or 400 passengers, or somewhere around that. So you're talking that, so if it is say 4,000 and a plane carries 400, you're talking about 10 plane loads to every ship load, of passengers. So that puts a lot of demand for physical space at our airport and all the facilities that go with it, whether it is seating, whether it is provision for the personnel, the customs, immigration, and other officers who have, because they're gonna need lunchroom facilities. Because if you increase the space, you're gonna have to probably increase the personnel, and you're gonna have to make provision for them. I remember having the airport having to turn an area. First it was covered and so on, and then they had to improve it. And then I think so because you have this movement of large numbers. So you're very right. Are we seeing a corresponding spending in enhancing our facilities to accommodate growing numbers. And that is going to apply in all sectors. You know, one of the things that we've heard a lot about, because when we talk about infrastructure, now we're talking about government expenditure, but we also have to think in terms of how government facilitates the private sector as well. And when I say the private sector, I'm not only talking about big international business, etc., where you get some nice concessions. What about those locals? We talk about community tourism. You know, is there provision to facilitate the upgrading of those facilities which offer what we may describe as indigenous, you know, artisanal kind of activities that will distinguish Barbados from other CARICOM destinations, for example. So I think you've touched on a good question, and that is why you asked the question. Now you asked the question, why is the non-statutory figure smaller? The non-statutory figure is smaller because it takes you back to my early question about the total spend on the central government, which is the ministry.
Yes.
That is accounted for in here, and what happens at the level of that major entity called the BTMI.
Right.
That finance, how much money are they receiving? How is it being spent? Are we seeing the kind of results that should flow from the money spent? Those are the kinds of things that will be critical when we try to answer that very first question.
Yes.
Because we're talking small in terms of statutory, you know, and well, you know, so that is it. So what explains the 7.6 is what is in the statutory, the small, what I call the small book with the personal emoluments, etc. Actually, let me say something. I gave you some numbers, and those numbers were wrong because I was looking at last year's book. So they will be a bit higher than some of them that I gave you, because I gave you last year's number for the salaries. I would have to go on.
Right, so that difference there for to trying to make up the 7.6 billion.
But that, conceptually, that is
right. I understand the concept. Thank you. Now, the minister, while he was in the well, he was saying that how he's going to deal, you know, that there's a problem with a shortage of staff, right? As it relates to the air
traffic controller.
Yeah, the air traffic controllers. Thank you. So this is what he's saying, and that 15 trainees will start April 7th, another 15 in December, and then they're planning to send some trainees abroad. And it's a pity that, you know, I'm wondering why this wasn't done before. You know, we're waiting for this to happen, you know, for an accident to happen before we come up with these suggestions. But this is part, because what I did, I went and took his speech and then, you know, pulled out the pertinent information, and especially the plan. So his plan is that he will have 15 trainees starting April 7th, 15 in December, and then they plan to send 25 trainees abroad. So that we are trying to be fair to them. That is what he says that is going to be the plan, so that we don't have what we had the other day, where the air traffic controllers would not feel overworked and they would not be understaffed. And so they're frustrated and then decide to strike. Any thoughts on that, Ms. McLean?
Well, there are a couple questions that I would ask. And as you said, I am happy to see that there is a plan. And I emphasize a plan for training, because we want to see the execution of that plan. But let me start first by asking a couple questions about the existing complement of air traffic controllers. What is the ideal staff complement that the ministry would want, or is the quote unquote desired or acceptable number of people employed? That's the first thing. So how big should the staff be ideally? What is the current size of the staff now? And to expand on that a little bit more, what is the shortfall? Is there a shortfall in terms of numbers? Because I think we've been hearing that. So they can tell us, okay, we're supposed to have 50 persons that we roster, but we have 40 or, or something like that. That's the second question.
Yeah.
The third question is, of the existing staff complement, what are the age profiles of those persons? In other words, in the next year, the next 2, 5, 3, 5, 10 years, how many of those persons are expected to retire? Because what you would find, and I saw this in government in relation to a number of people at the level of permanent secretary, you get people who probably sometimes they cluster together. So you have a number of retirements almost following back to back or very close upon each other. Now, if we already have a problem and the numbers or the profiles suggest that a significant percentage are likely to retire in the next 2 to 5 years, you see the problem starts to get compounded unless these trainees that we're hearing about, well, somebody's suggesting here, Steve Davis is suggesting that when the person left working at the airport, there were about 60 persons. So I see my 50 number wasn't too far off. There were about 60 persons working in air traffic control, excluding the administration and the AIS office. I'm not sure what the AIS means, but what I am reading into the comment is that you probably had about 60 persons at the level of air traffic control, senior or whatever. I don't know the titles, but functioning in that air traffic controller role. So if that of those 60, let's use that number. If of those 60, 10 of those persons are likely to retire within 2 to 3 years, you see you have an issue. So when I look at the numbers that the trainees, I know the last number was 25, I think the first number was 15. How long, so there's an immediate 15 that they're going to send off. How long is that? What qualifications do they require of those persons? How long will that training take?
Exactly.
And when that training is completed, how equipped are they to get onto the job and be able, in other words, how much additional training on the job will be required? So we it sounds good, but do we still have a potentially difficult or even dangerous situation in the immediate term? And how are they going to balance that in a way to make sure that we don't have workers feeling so pressured that they have to resort to industrial action?
Yes, it's very, very interesting. Thank you, XC Davis. XC Davis, what is AIS office? We learn on the show as well. You can teach us as well. AIS, I know it's airport something.
Security, I don't know.
What AIS is,
safety, security.
Yeah, we learn on here as well, guys.
Help us out.
Yeah, but Miss McLean, this is something that's bothering me, and then I'm gonna, guys, we're gonna open up the lines and let people call in. The minister is saying that the government has done so well. The tourism record it's the performance it's amazing. They're saying, okay, and so they are saying that they need more money now to market the island and to secure the infrastructure to make tourism possible. So follow their argument. They're saying they're doing so well. Tourism did so well. In fact, we're gonna look at the numbers. I don't have any way to verify the numbers, but they're saying that the tourism did so well, so therefore they now need more money They need to spend more, not only to market the island, but to secure the infrastructure to make tourism possible. But then we could think of the opposite. If the sector is doing record business, we need to ask where where are the benefits? Are they reaching us? I mean, in the communities, do we feel it? Because I was saying, wow, tourism is doing well. That means, we should feel it because this is our bread and butter, right? And it makes us wonder why if it's doing, as Michelle was saying, it did so well. Why do we have those staffing issues, right? So there's a tension in what the minister is saying and in what we're experiencing.
Well, I went, Marcia, because you said something and I tried to do a little bit of it. You said you have no way of verifying the numbers. I went on the website of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. this evening, just before you started the show, because I was out and I came in and I said, well, let me check, because like you, I said, I need to find out, I need to get some figures. And I said that because I know that there's some challenges in collecting the figures, but I'll come back to that. So on the website of the BTMI, and they say the source is the Barbados, the BSS, the Barbados Statistical Service, and it says visitor arrivals, November 2025. And at the bottom, it says www.stats.gov.bb. So I believe they are saying this is where they got these stats from. And so that people don't think that I'm looking at a blank page like some people like to do in Parliament sometimes. And I never did that when I sat in the Senate. So let me just say that when I read for a paper, there was something on it that was research. It says year to date. Now this is up to November last year. Year to date, stayover arrivals by purpose of visit. And it has here, of the 649,100 stayover arrivals recorded for this period. I remember we say November, up to November, the end of November.
Yeah.
So we would have to add on December. We had, of the 649,100,000, we had 464,542 visited for recreational purposes. It goes on to say business/conference visits numbered 47,919 persons. A total of 14,949 persons visited to honeymoon or to get married. Study visits total 6,994. And you would like this number because I'm gonna go and use it for other purposes another time. We gather in visits were recorded at 3,351 for the year. So one of the things that I will do, Marcia, is to
what was the long-term stay? What was the long-term visitors?
649,100.
And this was in November.
Up to November. No, this is for the year up to the end of November.
Up to the end. So they're saying here then, because they're saying that for 2025,
something you would subtract to get
right.
the difference.
Right. I'm giving a number. 1 second, Ms. McQueen. 729, because somebody listening might want to know. 310 long stay visitors. So are they saying that in that month then that they had over 100,000 long stay visitors
in December? That
right.
different. So we could always go back and look at that. But I found the regathering because remember for the year we spent millions. Remember we went through those numbers,
right.
and the number was 3,351. Now this is something else that would be interesting because remember when I mentioned that while North America went up, the US I think it said went up by 8%. It says here length of stay year to date stayover arrivals by length of stay. Most of the persons who traveled to the island stayed for 4 to 7 days. 280,081, followed by those who preferred 8 to 14 week. 14. They should probably say 14 day, not 14 weeks there. And it has the 185,621 stayed 8 to 14 days. It won't be 8 to 14 weeks. There's a typo in here. The average number of days spent in Barbados among stayover visitors arrivals was approximately 11.76 days over the review period. And remember that the Europeans tend to stay longer. So if we have more of those, that's one thing. Then it gives you information by country of residence and so on. It has US for that period up to the end of November, 223,005 from the US, 198,336 from the UK, 62,543 from Canada, and 90,867 from CARICOM. And then you go into cruise passengers. Interesting statistic here, which landed passengers, okay, those are the ones who probably got off and stayed in Barbados. Landed passengers cruise arrivals was 151,781. In transit cruise passengers tallied 586,793. So I think what's happened, some cruise passengers, the people get off and stay. Now the question is, when we look at the landed, I hope they didn't count Barbadians in that. Because if you went on a cruise last year and you got off the cruise ship coming back and you are coming home, you shouldn't be treated like a visitor, if you see what I mean. Because you're coming home. You're not going to stay in a hotel or stay at somebody's house and spend money. You're coming home, you know, so you're not a tourist. So those are some of the statistics. So I
want to make sure you says 3,351, and you have to tell me where to find that site. Tell us the site again.
This I'll give you again. I got it off the website of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. And there were citing statistics. The source of the statistics would be in the BSS, that is the Barbados Statistical Service. And underneath they gave you www.stats.gov.bb.
Okay, all right, no problem.
And what I can do, when we finish, I can go online and pull it up and forward it to you.
Right,
Save you having to go and search for it again.
Because it's interesting as citizens. We, you know, if it is a record breaking, we need to feel it. We need to experience it in our communities, you know, and
the question, and let's explore. If we have time, we should explore that a little bit in terms of the feel of the record breaking and what.
Yes, really go ahead. While I just remind people, this is a time, guys, that you can call in. I see Cleveland there has a message. Getting frustrated, like, so where if all of this happened? What happened to the money? Where is it? Guys, call in and speak up. Speak your truth. All right. So here is the line, and we're ready to take your calls. We have to make sure this is a feature of the show that you can call in. Okay. So go ahead and make your calls at this time. We're ready to take them. Go right ahead, Ms. McLean.
Yeah. So the question to Cleveland and to you and to myself and all those who ask, what happens with that tourism dollar? And this is the kind of analysis we need. There has traditionally been a significant, what people use the term leakage of that tourism dollar, which typically is foreign exchange, because at the heart of it, when we look at the cost of doing business, operating a hotel, whether it is the bed linens, the furniture that they use, the food that they serve in the restaurant. The question is, how much of that is imported? You understand? Because if I get $1 in revenue, what percentage of that dollar goes back out or never reaches here? Because some of these things are settled outside of the island, and the remainder comes, quote unquote, is repatriated. So everybody does not pay. I mean, if I'm booking a flight from Helsinki, or I'm coming from Timbuktu or Ghana, Accra, or wherever, or wherever, sometimes you pay, you know.
Ms. McLean, hold that thought. Yeah, don't want to be rude. Yes, okay. Let's make sure we can hear them. Good night. Welcome to the Marcia Weekes Show.
The night, my dear sister.
Good night.
One second.
What's going on here? What's going on here?
All right. Okay. I think it's good now. Go right ahead.
Okay. Basic questions. The layman on the street doesn't want to know about all the fluff. They want to know one thing, like me. If we have such great records and visitors coming, we have spent so much money for hotels, I won't mention roads, for hotels and for doing all this culinary training, and all of this has been going on for years. And you're trying to tell me that they can't answer the question, where is the money? Why is it not trickling? Why haven't you fixed the leaks in the bucket? What do you think the public will do? The public is going to say, man, I cannot buy into what you're doing because I'm not feeling it. It's not just for taximen or minibus drivers to be able to get it. There are other people that have set up their homes as bread and breakfasts, and there's no reaching out to them. There's no way that you can live in Barbados and say, I can afford to live here because it's easy. I can afford to plan for my future, for my children's future, because everything has a hole in the bucket. And this hole in the bucket seems to be getting bigger, not smaller. It doesn't seem to be regressing in any shape or form, but yet we're expected to, put our hands to the plow and don't give up. There must be something coming back down to the middle, or what, the other class of people, not just the government. It's frustrating. I am telling you, I don't know what's going to happen, but people are not stupid, and they're going to be able to say, I one day enough is enough.
Hold a minute there, caller. Let Miss McLean. I think some of what you were saying might add some insight to the caller. Give the caller some insight.
Okay, well, he's asking about benefits flowing to persons other than the traditional ones, the taxi driver and the hotel or whatever. Now, if you look at the level of concessions given to the tourism sector, and particularly hotels as a major element of the tourism product, the question is, what level of reciprocity are hotels asked to demonstrate? And let me explain that. How much do they do in terms of business with locals? I remember there was a time when some hotels would have been sourcing furniture, not necessarily all, but furniture. You talk about soft furnishings. You walk into a hotel and there's artwork, there's entertainment. We've heard over the years that entertainers complaining that what they earn, the conditions under which they work, and so on, those things have not necessarily improved significantly over the years. So at the heart of it is, to what extent is the hotel or the hotelier, the owner of that hotel, sourcing domestically? So in essence, keeping a greater percentage of that gross revenue that they get when they sell a hotel room in Barbados.
You can have it going back to like the farmers program. How many hotels are farmers program? Things like this that would actually be back into their economy and help the whole of Barbados. Farmers are not just for vegetation; they're animal as well, And to be able to have something operating for others outside of the hotel industry that would make it a benefit to Barbadians.
No,
Go ahead, Miss McLean.
Yeah, what I was saying, you're correct. And I was trying to remember, because this is a discussion I've had for must be over 20 years with some local business people who would say to me, when you look at the level of incentives and concessions given to hotels to the tourism sector, particularly hotels? Why is there not a requirement? And this is, as I said, this is something that's been talked about before, that those beneficiaries of those incentives should find a way to generate or to transact a certain percentage of business with domestic entities, because it is taxpayers' funds that are given or foregone when the tourism sector gets concessions. And so, I mean, we talk about agriculture, but it's a two-sided thing, because both sectors have to work together. But if you are going to contract in a serious way, and you can source, even in, we hear about it, source local produce and so on. You do it in a way that ensures that you are helping to grow that, grow those other sectors and complement what you're doing. And we have not insisted on that. In fact, I think in a lot of ways there's been a falling away. One of the things, and I'll give you an example, I use furniture because I know of this over the years. I have seen where some hotels would import furniture, and I guess to get them at significantly low prices. They may not be as good as some of the local ones, but then they call on the local persons to come and repair them and fix them, when in fact they could have given that person a greater opportunity to supply, certain, and I've seen some people do it. So that is part of the answer why you see a significant leakage. And then, of course, you hear some allegations of certain practices where there might be entities setting up and doing business with itself, so in other words, Maxine has a hotel, and I have a company in Florida or something supplying products to this hotel, and so I end up as a middle person getting a markup, so you actually kind of are getting two bites at the cherry, so to speak, because you have a vertical thing which is not necessarily set up to achieve great efficiencies. Is probably to reduce how much money ends up because taxable income and all. I don't want to get too tied up in it, but I think that the question of leakage has in large part to do with the fact that not enough business is generated locally to support the sector and thus earn a reasonable part of that gross revenue tourism dollar.
Yeah. It's interesting. I can't. Caller, if I can tell you this is something that I just found, and we're going to have to do some research to try to find some more information, because somebody asked, how much money basically the tourist spends on average in Barbados, right? And according this in 2021, because I can't find the data, I would have to spend some more time. But in 2021, they're saying that per visitor, each tourist spends $3,669 per visitor. This is how they got. This is total receipts divided by total tourists, right? And the total tourists is
Marcia, I know for sure Hilton is like $1,500 a night. So if you're going to be staying for 11 days, you can do the math on that. That's at least $1,500.
$1,500. You mean
$1,500?
Which room? No, you can get a room at Hilton for probably 300 and something US a night.
That will have to be that $1,500 will have to be an somewhat upper end, or at least a higher end than the average hotel.
Okay, I know that there's a new what's it called? Indigo. All right, there, and for a weekend, 3 days, that's $3,000. Right?
At Indigo. At Indigo.
At Indigo.
at Indigo. At Indigo. So that's a new hotel right there, right? So these things have to be looked at again. We're going to have to revisit what they're conceding of our money that they should be paying. And then, of course, if they can show the proof that they're not making this money, then I can understand. But if they are making this money, then there should be some sort of reciprocity, as Maxine said. They can't continue to operate like this. They're the creme de la creme of Barbados now. There's no more sugar cane. But yet we have a situation where it's not trickling. It's not coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
So,
But you also have, from the perspective, caller, from the perspective of the hotelier, you would have to look at that per night spend and see how it breaks out in labor. You know, what percentage goes to pay wages and so on. But my you know, and then what percentage of that is spent on services overseas. But you mentioned that, but it's interesting on the other hand, Marcia, that if you look, I did a search and the number doesn't sound far-fetched. As I said, I was around the cruise industry for a long time. And I came up with a note here, and I would verify this by looking at, to tell you some studies. It says, okay, this would have come from Caribbean spending data, the FCCA brief study. In, they say in the 2023 to 24 cruise season, the average cruise passenger spending in the Caribbean was, these numbers are usually in US $104.36 per passenger per destination. And then they said top spenders, US Virgin Islands, people spent about $258 US and 10 cents, Dominican Republic, $251.40, St. Martin, $237.80. Now, if the average is $104.37, I would hazard a guess that Barbados is very close to the average or slightly higher. So we wouldn't see the average cruise passenger in Barbados, because if Barbados were big spenders in Barbados, we would have seen it in the top three there. So
Right.
Land-based is very different from cruise. So the question is, and what do we do to get people to spend more money? And for example, typically in Barbados, a lot was what happened. People were going to Bridgetown. Only today, I was again talking cruise industry, and somebody said to me that, that she was the same lady I was talking to at the beach this morning. She was saying that she was in town last week and there were lots of visitors around, but she was in a Broad Street store. They don't have too many of them left now. And the person was saying, we see them, but there's not a lot of spending now. They go on to Swan Street. Now, the question is, do they go on to Swan Street because there's something indigenous and attractive, or is it that we have so many clothes storefronts on Broad Street that they have few options but to go into, they want this. So that is the other issue. What is it that we have to be talking about success? What are people spending their money on? How does the spending in Barbados compare to the spending in Jamaica and in St. Lucia and Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts, Nevis, as I said, St. Martin, etc., etc.
I think you're making my point there, Maxine, because the fact is that people come to Barbados for Barbadiana. They come to Barbados to be among and to absorb the local cuisine, the local appetite, the locals. Barbados is known for its sea, sand, and its people. All right? And its people. But yet, with the same hand that they know the tourists would like to come and actually experience Barbados, they're killing the same thing, the golden goose that lays the golden egg. Yeah?
Yeah. Well, caller, I think he dropped out. I was going to thank him for his call. Very, very interesting. And, you can hear the frustration, I think, especially people who are in business, small business operators and so on. A lot of them are having a hard time. We're seeing a lot of businesses are actually leaving the country. Okay, he's calling back because he dropped out. Hi, caller, we just have another minute for you to close out. I know you dropped out there, so just complete what you were saying.
I'm sorry. Okay, it's just that the golden goose is the Barbadian people, and that's what the tourists are coming for. So the Barbadian people should be empowered monetarily. They should be empowered logistically, legislatively, so that we can put forward our best foot. We are Barbadians in 160 square miles, and therefore we should be given that privilege.
Yes.
The government has a responsibility, and we have a responsibility to ourselves to be the best we can be.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, caller. Thank you. I would love to ask Barbadians, how do you feel? I can't remember, Miss McLean, how many millions. I used to know it that for the We Gathering, that was spent for We Gathering. Is there any way anybody out there remember? Why am I here? Well, how much millions was it? And we are seeing here that it's 3,351 approximately. 3,351 visitors came in for We Gathering. I would love to hear from Barbadians. How do you, what are your thoughts about that? What's going on in your mind when you hear that? And we got that figure from their website, the tourism website. I before the night is up, I'm going to find how much was budgeted for We Gathering. All right. Anybody, you can go ahead and give us a call. Go ahead, Miss McLean.
No, I am trying to remember the figure. I can tell you that there were millions, at least $6 or more million allocated. I had actually.
I have 6 in my mind, but I have 6 million in my mind.
I would have to go back and look for the note because I thought I had it on saved in a file, but I didn't see it when I was searching. But that's not all. What I came across this evening as I was reading up was an article to do where they had launched it, and there was a plan to also try to get donations of about 5 million from the private sector. And this was an article written in March of which year would have been 20, but at that point in time they had collected about 500,000 from the private sector. But you see, again, this is where it is absolutely important that there's reporting. But I will go, especially now that I've seen that number, and I'll see if the statistics for December, which would give you the entire year, in what the final number is. And I will go in search of all of those things and do a calculation of the average spend based on the monies allocated in the various ministries' budgets to see what the average spend was in terms of money expended by government on this, because I know that, because if you think about it, 300 and is what I told you, 335 or 350.
3,351.
If you divide that by 11 months, you would see that it was less than 300 passengers, if my math is correct, per month who came in for.
Yes, 304 passengers, 305
passengers per month based on that for regathering. And so then we can look and see, you know, what.
Yeah, what I'm seeing here is that there was a $14 million that was in the estimates last year for Carrie-Questa, Independence, and it was under NCF. Okay, so you had We Gathering, right? It included We Gathering. So it was the execution.
That was just NCF. But almost every single ministry had an allocation from the Prime Minister's Office, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of Agriculture, because I went through systematically and I actually highlighted every payment, every one. And so what we ended up, so I will go back and find my
Yeah,
note
we
which
need to
summarized
get
all
that.
of that.
We need to get that. We need to get
I
that.
will I would summarize. I'll find the summary I did, and then you, because it was a lot of money, because you know every time I went to a different ministry there was a sum of money, and the question is, based not only on the arrivals that is shown in there, look at what was the objective of the exercise and the actual events that would have been rolled out over the year. And I say an interesting comparison, which I am prepared to do because we had a clear budget, etc., would be to look at the comparison between two things. One, the year of celebration of the 50th anniversary of independence, and see how much money was spent on that. And we also had over the years some diaspora events. Granted, they operated during the month of August for the local events, and then you had some events where Barbados, as it was called, Barbados Comes To, it went off to Atlanta, it went off to South Carolina, it went off to cities in Florida. And so, you know, because all I can recall of the gathering for the most part is partying, you know, partying and whatever for the most part.
Yeah.
And it just, well.
Well, somebody sent a question here, not to do with tourism, but they are saying good night. Why are stores in town closing down? In Barbados, it's getting so hard. Some people are moving their business to their homes. But I guess they're asking the question and also telling me that some people are moving their stores to their homes. What do you think is happening?
I can tell you from my experience, some years ago, I was involved in the running and the children's store. Rent, and it wasn't on Broad Street. And the group of us would not even have contemplated going on Broad Street. The rents are very high in Bridgetown. One. Two, because of the development of what I would call outside of Bridgetown shopping complexes and so on, and the traffic. I mean, I went into Christchurch today and trying to get back to this side of the island. There's traffic. Trying to decide how you want to navigate. That's it. The other thing that we have insisted on in Bridgetown would be opening hours during regular government work. Well, not government office, because it's not only government, private, during office hours. So if I want to be in Bridgetown at 6:30, there's hardly any. I don't think you'll find a store unless there's something. It's Christmas. You know, you have late opening hours. There needs to be some kind of transformation, but the general problem would be the fact that rents are very high. I had to show a couple of small business people how to look at the true impact of rent. And a simple thing I say to a person, you're paying for a little, whatever, 400 square feet or whatever the thing may be. You're paying, let me just say, paying $2,000 a month rent. You are selling trinkets, right? Which costs on average $20. Because we're talking tourists now. You're selling things like key rings and whatever t-shirts may cost you $40 or whatever. A basic thing is when you have that $2,000 rent to meet per month or more, because if you go into, I'm just using an arbitrary figure. When you have that $2,000 to meet, and you look at your t-shirt, I'll use a t-shirt, and that t-shirt costs you $20 to purchase, right? You sell it for $40, and you take out the 20. Just without considering any other amount of expenses, look and see how many t-shirts you have to sell in that month just to cover that rent. After you have covered the cost, you've taken the cost, and you're saying all the rest of this money will go to pay the rent. Look and see how many t-shirts you would have to sell. And if if I am not wrong, because if I say 2000 and it's 20, and you take out and it is 22,000 and it's 20, you would look and see that you have to sell what? About 100. That's right, Marcia.
I wasn't calculating it, Ms.
Okay.
McLean, as some
Okay,
people are
I
saying.
think that, let me write it down. But anyhow, the point I'm making is that some very basic calculations would help you to see how much you would have to spend to just to cover the rent, and recognize that if you have something and you subtract the cost, the remainder is left to pay for your rent, to pay salaries to yourself and our staff, to pay utilities, to make a profit, and all of these things. And so when you start to look at these kind of things, you realize that people get into business without doing the basic, I don't even say mathematics, the basic arithmetic, the basic calculations. And then they find themselves either just doing enough business to pay the rent and maybe cover some, even to replace your stock and all of that. And so doing business is expensive. So it is a question of how do we decide, first of all, that you want to keep shop spaces being utilized and attractive, because the first thing is when a house or store is closed for a little while, it falls apart. Think about it. It starts to, it falls apart. The attention is not there to maintain it. The energy is not there. And so when that happens and you start to you come off a cruise ship, you've been to Barbados before, and you walk from Lower Broad Street, because you're coming from the port, you're coming from Lower Broad Street to the top, and you start counting on your left and on your right and on your left, and you realize this store is closed, that one is closed. It's, to use the expression the young people like, the place looking pop down. And what are we doing? What else can we do? Because if retail is not, the traditional retail is not the only, if I put it this way, what are, even in terms of retail, forgetting the whole cost of doing business, for example, what else what is it that we are offering visitors in stores that will pull them into the store? Everybody doesn't want to buy jewelry, so it is something that we really, is there something else that we can do in some of those places that will pull people in? Have we been talking to them, ask them what they would want to see on Broad Street? Have they been talking to locals to ask them what will bring you back into Bridgetown, so that visitors will see locals in the city enjoying themselves, in the hustle and bustle? Because if I come into a destination and I get off a cruise ship, I was on one, what year was it that the Arvia was named in Barbados? I happened to be on that cruise ship that went during that sailing. And one of the things I noticed, because as I said, I've been in the industry, when I got into ports like Antigua, St. Kitts, and so on, there was a freshness and that was missing in Barbados, because I was looking at it through not only the visitor, but as somebody who would have been a stakeholder in cruise industry for about 13, 14 years. And so this is my concern. So when a passenger has options,
But Ms. McLean, just to add another dimension to what you're explaining here, or to the discussion, the two persons made two great comments here, and they were reading my mind. Pedro says the Bridgetown initiative might be contributing to it. Nina says, and it's something to look at. I don't know when the last time, you've been in, if you go into Bridgetown and you get out your car and you're walking, when you're walking, I heard tourists talking. I remember seeing two of them talking, and they're pointing over there and said, why did doing that there. That used to be a building there. And the woman was complaining. I went up close to listen, and then she started. She was conscious, and she thought I was angry because she was criticizing the town, criticizing Bridgetown and how it looks. And I said, no, I'm in agreement with you. And then she started to explain, to her friend that she used to have sit there and eat at the waterfront, and she was things that she remembered. But now she's here. It's not there anymore. It's closed down or battened up because there's construction and so on. So it does affect the tourists. And this person is saying, wonder if the Bridgetown initiative or Nina, not or, and Nina is saying that Bridgetown is no longer the central district. It may be strategic to prepare for takeover to the coastline. So that's something to think about as well. I thought I tried to read their comments here. Guys, remember you can call in. The line is open. Feel free to call in at 236-7000. Go ahead, Ms. McLean.
I think again, this conversation was part of one that we were having this morning, because I was talking to Barbadians who are visiting, who are home on holiday, and a couple of them are usually here a couple of times a year. Almost every year I see them, and sometimes they come twice, maybe 3 times a year. And they were saying that some people are saying that the Barbados that they're seeing now, and this is not Bajans, these are Bajans talking to non-Barbadian tourists, that and I use the word, it almost looks generic, and what I mean is that they're concerned that there's nothing, we're losing our unique flavor as a jurisdiction, as a destination, as an island in the Caribbean, that you're getting these structures that look like you can find them anywhere in the world. And so the things that some visitors, and we speak a lot about the high level of repeat visitor, and so for those persons, they're coming back, but the experience of Barbados is not the same. And it's like, okay, I could as well have gone to somewhere in some other part of the world, or to some other island. And in fact, and I suppose that happens to us partly because we are a mature tourism destination, but we are not seeing, there's a lot missing. Even, and I think the caller that we had on for a little while talked about people. And even the experience of Barbadians is changing, their experience with locals. So we have to really sit down and ask some of these visitors. Somebody else mentioned the profiles of visitors. Those profiles are also changing. And what are the implications, and how are we addressing those things it is okay to talk about money, but before we get to spending money, we have to be clear what we're spending it on, why we're spending it, to what effect will we spend it, and is it what the persons we're spending it on, that is the visitor, is it on things that they really want?
Yeah. Somebody says here, trying to get in some of the comments here. I'm not sure what Pedro means. He says the small businesses got a leader whose voice is muted. I think he's talking about, because you were talking about some of the vendors and so on. You're going to comment on that, Ms. McLean?
I think small businesses can't rely on a leader alone to speak. I don't know. I don't quite understand to whom the comment refers, or about whom it refers. But what I would say is people need to be prepared to voice their concerns, to offer solutions, to get together in groups. I talk a lot about the cruise terminal back in the early 90s when that was reorganized and set up. and there were a number of small vendors in there. I remember taxi drivers complaining about the larger coaches, etc. And as a member of the board of the cruise terminal under the then chairman, Edmund Harrison, we agreed that, look, we will pay and take representatives of the taxis to an event called Sea Trade. It was an annual event, so that they can engage with the representatives of the cruise lines, etc. We spoke to them about finding ways in which they could also develop packages to offer as an option. Everybody doesn't want to drive in a coach of 30-something people. You may have persons, I mean, we talked about honeymoons and people for the weddings. People may want to go on an event by themselves, but you package it. So I think what is happening, people need to spend some time articulating, well, first of all, discussing what it is they're challenged with solutions, and be comfortable putting those solutions there to the fore. Because at the end of the day, the best person to offer a solution for you is you, who understand the problem, and you can get like-minded persons. But I am not seeing enough energy, and in terms of the policymakers, enough energy in terms of the industry players. We will spend money and go off to a cruise, not a cruise, a tourism trade show or trade event, event in the Gulf area. But do we have hotels that would be attractive by and large to that clientele? In other words, what are they looking for? Do we have that? We talk about younger people who are looking for more experiences of what is it that they want? Are we asking them? I remember frequently we used to do exit, they would see people come into the cruise terminal and do surveys of tourism, of tourists about their experiences. I can't say yeah or nay, but is that still happening? What are they doing with the information? So there's a lot to me that I describe it as a drift. I hear the minister and he speaks nicely and so on, but as somebody who's been around the industry at different levels, I have some serious concerns, because one thing we can do, benchmark ourselves against the rest of the Caribbean, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is a relatively new player, Antigua, Barbuda, the Dutch Islands, look and see what's happening there. Where do we, one of the things, quickly, Marcia, I'll say this and stop. One of the things that I've noticed, because I follow awards, tourism awards, etc. How many awards have we in Barbados won in the tourism sector in the last 2, 3, 4 years? And I'll get some information and I'll share it with you in terms of the kind of awards that you see given to hotels, for hotels, for activities, restaurants, you name it. Best hotel, this, best that, in this category, that category. What's happening? What are we winning? Where are we? Are we even getting a special mention? Are we getting mentioned at all?
Yeah. I'm making a note of that. Well, Ms. McLean, let me thank you so very much for joining us again, taking the time to be with us. Very important discussion around tourism. This head in the estimates. We await the budget on the 16th, and this is we are preparing you. We want you to hear the numbers. I want you to get into that space, that head space. I think it's very important that we do that, so that you realize what the numbers look like. And then they're going to give the budget itself. You're going to hear the budget itself on the 16th of March at 4 p.m. Now, what we're doing this year, since you've been all asking, you want a roadside parliament, you want us to come together. And so I've been trying to talking to some of you, what are we coming together to discuss? What is it that we want to discuss together that we can't discuss online, right? And I thought that this would be a great idea. Shared it with quite a number of you, and you said you liked the idea. So this is our citizens budget reply, okay, from the people. Not Miss McLean, not any government, from you, the citizens budget reply. And we're trying to put together a panel of people who you don't normally see, but we want you to prepare your reply. But you've got to call me ahead of time. All right, call me ahead of time. And 236-7000 said, Marcia, I listened to the budget, and I would like to get 2 minutes, because you can't get 30 minutes. All right, you got a few minutes, 2 minutes. I want to reply to a particular thing in the budget. All right, and you call me, and the mic is going to be there. And so where are we doing this? This is going to be Dave. It's gone, Dave. This is going to be at the George Street Auditorium. We are renting it. We're renting the auditorium, and you are all invited to be there. Nina, you say excellent. Are you in Barbados, and are you going to be able to attend? Yes? Listen, I think that I think Joseph Atherley, did he reply to a budget before? I can't remember. He must have.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, and Mr. Thorne did too.
I think so. Mr. Thorne
All right.
did too.
Mr. Thorne did too, and he will be very proud of us. All right. So we are meeting together, George Street Auditorium. If Dave could, okay. George Street Auditorium, Tuesday, March the 17th at 6:30 p.m. All right, 6:30 p.m. And if we get a good sponsor, we'll have a little something, because I know people are coming from work. And somebody said, we don't do those kind of things. Well, we don't have the money like the government has the money, right? Where we could provide a few little sandwiches for people coming from work, so that they can, be refreshed and don't feel they have to go home and then come back, right? So everybody, we're inviting you to George Street Auditorium on 6:30 p.m. where we have the citizens reply to the budget. Sister Marcia, you will support what you want to send in what you want to say. Nina, you have to message me. You might have something you want to say. What if you're in the diaspora and you want to write something in response to the budget? That's also, that's something we can do as well. And I think this will be different. What we're trying to do here, folks, is to have the citizens involved. Right? Civic engagement. We're not sitting down and waiting. We don't have a leader of the opposition to make this big response. Last year we had him, he spoke for 8 hours. We don't have that. So it's the people. It is us, and we will give our come, and don't be afraid of it. Listen to it. Own it. They're speaking to us. All right, and write down what you want to say, and you come and say what you want to say. I hope some of these shows will be able to help you. All right, as you prepare. All righty. Well, thank you all so much for joining. Cleveland said yes. Yes. Okay. I hope you all don't chicken out. All right. I hope you don't chicken out. Yes, okay. Somebody said they can't listen to the budget. They will buy The Nation and read. Well, if it's finished before, if it starts at 4, and if they end, Sometimes it's like 3 hours, right? Or 2.5 hours, 3 hours, right, Ms. McLean? The budget is usually
It depends on how long the Minister of Finance. I'm trying to remember how long the report last
I know
year,
it
'cause he
depends on
did
them.
the first
I've seen between 2 to 4 hours since I've been
Right.
here. So,
So it could go till about, it starts at 4, right?
yeah.
I figure it will go till about 7.
Till
I may
about
be wrong.
7. If it goes to 7, then we will still have our show on Monday evening.
Monday night.
And Monday night, and what we can do, if I'm able to get the transcript of it, we'll be able to do some work with it as well from that night. Begin to actually break down what is it that they actually said. So we might be able to do some of that from the same night. Yeah. All right. Okay, folks. Good night to everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much, Ms. McLean. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you on Friday. God bless you.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Rise up, Baina, Baina, rise up, Baina, Baina, rise up, Baina, 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 rise up, Baina, Baina, rise up, Baina, Baina, rise up, Baina, Baina, rise up, my people, see the morning light. Rise up, stronger together, Mama will claim our right. Together, we strong. Hearts united, hope will burning bright. This is our moment, our future in sight. We've walked the valleys, we faced the storm. Still we are standing, proud and strong. With every trial, we've grown in grace. Now is the time, let us take our place. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. We never tire, no, we never quit. Our dreams are alive, we are made for this. With faith unshaken, our voices sing. Barbados rising, let freedom ring. From east to west, from coast to town, coast to town. Our island spirit will not back down, never down. Hand in hand, we'll build anew the promise of tomorrow, shining through. A better tomorrow, the future is near. Hope in our hearts, no place for fear. God bless Barbados, we'll shine forever. Our turn is here, we rise together. A better tomorrow, the future is near. Hope in our hearts, no place for fear. God bless Barbados, we'll shine forever.